All right, so a little story about the bladders. That's how our ice cream mix comes. Whatever state you live in, there are dairies that sell this mix. 50 states, right? Right. Kids and their phones, right? Anyway, it comes in bladders. We call it ice cream mix, but it's really ice cream mix. And it comes in, can they hear me? Getting no reaction here. And it comes in bladders. We don't have the bladders today because I'll tell you later when we're not on the air. But it comes in 10-quart bladders from all of them. Some dairies produce it with vanilla that they use. Some dairies make a white mix and a chocolate mix. And some are better than others. In Florida, there are 2 companies that make the mix. One is down south and one is on the West Coast. And one is, in my opinion, significantly better than the other. So you'll just have to see. Now, sometimes you won't have a choice, but you can always doctor your mix a little if you need to. Little sugar, little vanilla, whatever you feel you want in your mix, but normally it'll be fine because the rest of it comes from your recipes. So, and today, the first flavor, we're making English toffee. And I at home, I took these springform pans and I took graham crackers and a little butter, mixed it up, and pressed it into the bottom of these springform pans because I thought, how cool to have English toffee ice cream cake. Now, if you have a store, you can, of course, sell them. This would probably sell for $24, $5, something like that. This would sell for $12, $13, and you're going to make good money on both of them. So, unfortunately, after we fill these, we won't be able to serve them that way because they'll still not have solidified. So we'll put them in the freezer, and perhaps by the time we leave, they'll be ready, and we can slice it up. But if not, you get the idea. He's back. Don't say anything. All right, so the first flavor, you know me, I'm a simplicity guy. And the first flavor has 2 ingredients, and that's it. Now, I'm a little bit hypocritical today because the second flavor is the most complicated flavor I've ever made, but it's so good that I let that go. Okay? So the first one is English toffee.
Sure.
Okay, we'll open the machine.
Yes.
What? Yes.
Yes.
We'll make sure that the gate is closed, and we'll pour in the mix. What are you eating?
An orange.
Oh, okay. All right, so in it goes. Tell them the rule, Christy.
The gate closed?
No, the higher.
Oh. So the way Jeff is pouring it, you can see how he's holding the container up high. Doing so creates a thin pour, so that way it can go into the spout without making any messes. If you go to take the container and touch it to the throat of the machine, it's going to have to start out with a pretty wide spout. And it's going to just spill all over both sides of the machine. Ta-da!
That's a 25-cent tip. And there'll be a jar probably over there. Hello. Where you can put the money for these tips that you'll get today. They think I'm serious. All right, so let's add another little bit of this. Oh, and what Christy was talking about before, you see how these tubs have gradients on them, markings for quarts and liters. And a lot of people put them like this because it's natural. And then when you pour, you've got to, get down like that and make sure you're there. But if you just turn it You can still see the markings, and then you can pour. That's a 50-cent tip. All right, yeah, that's good enough. So we'll put this in here a little more. And vanilla. I brought my own vanilla.
Okay.
So I don't have to listen to you bellyache about me wasting your vanilla. Because I use 1 ounce per quart of mix, which nobody ever did before I started this, right?
Right.
But it's smart. I shouldn't say smart. It's good because the vanilla these days is so good and so expensive, except this. This is my vanilla of choice. It's Dancy vanilla, and you can get it on eBay. The people who sell it, there's many of them who sell it, and it comes from South Texas by the border because it's Mexican vanilla. I like it a lot. So,
I like it. I like it.
you do? Excellent. He doesn't. Okay, measuring cup.
Second shelf.
See, I'm actually measuring this time.
I'm shocked.
Well, it's for you. Okay, ounces. Well, this isn't very much. All right, we'll pour this in. And then we have one ingredient left, which is the, what is it? The dulce de leche. I like that. Dulce de leche. Dulce de leche. Which means sweet of milk.
Sweet milk.
Sweet milk. And that's, remember how we talked about how it's made? It's sweetened condensed milk simmered. And if you simmer it on a low heat for a long time, that sweetened condensed milk turns into this. That's how I used to do it. Then Nestle got wind of what I was doing, and they decided to put it in cans.
You get the royalties?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I got. Okay, let's see, that should do it.
Right here.
Oh, you're the best. Okay, the machines have 2 controls on the top. One of them is here, and it has a little screen on it. And with this screen, after you press this, make ice cream, get help. We're beyond that. So make ice cream. Now it lists all the ice creams you can make, which the machine will adjust for by changing the speed of the motor. So you can go homemade ice cream, custard, gelato, and on and on. Italian ices, you can keep going. What we're going to do with ice cream is put it on full speed ahead, which is 234 revolutions per minute. Fast. And the other control is the refrigeration. So when we hit this, the cylinder will spin. See the cylinder by Christy over there next to those kits? That's what's inside the machine. And it doesn't move, but around it, see the tubes around it, the coils? That's the refrigeration. So what happens, because you didn't see it open, is the coils around it, you start it up, and nothing happens but the blades. Where are the blades? Those things, they spin around. How fast?
234.
234 per minute. And nothing's happening. You can wait 6 months and you won't have ice cream until you hit this. And this is the refrigeration. That turns the juice into those coils, and it cools that cylinder that's sitting there really cold. And between the coldness of the steel and the spinning of the blades, the ice cream mixture inside starts to thicken. And because the blades are flush, spring-loaded, flush against the walls, it keeps scraping the stuff off and bringing it to the middle. Fast, very fast. That's why a regular ice cream will take 8-9 minutes, right?
Yep.
And that's amazing. And you'll appreciate that when you have your store and you have to make 80 gallons before you can go home and have lunch. Okay, so first we'll start it up. Get help or make ice cream? Let's make ice cream. And we are on homemade, right? Homemade. And now we start. And it says right there, 234. Counterclockwise, 234. So now the vanilla and the ice cream mix we put in are getting to know each other. Nothing else is happening. And we're going to add this, dulce de leche. Dulce de leche. And let's see.
That's just the handle.
Oh boy, look at that. Oh. I can't hear the
How
machine.
many quarts of mix did you put in?
Yeah, I knew you were sitting there for a reason. I I put in 8 quarts of mix. Why is it making noise?
The handle is just going back and
Ah, it's the handle. And you know the famous line from Bob Dylan, the pumps don't work because the vandals took the handles. They don't get that.
forth. This is the 24.
So it's going to make upwards of 24 quarts of ice cream. You don't.
You know,
put
I should have
24
put this
quarts
with
in
the drill bit.
because you need
Yeah.
air. Otherwise, it
forgot.
wouldn't be ice cream.
That's gonna be
It would just be
20.
lard.
For the next flavor. So the mix is in a very liquidy state at this point, so that's why you see the vibration of it going. Once the refrigeration turns on and it starts to get thicker, it won't have that much shake to it.
And it's on wheels.
Yes. But Jeff always likes to, what I say, make love with the machine for 30 minutes before we start it. Like this.
See, this was a good invention. No moving parts, works great. Unlike the can opener.
I actually have some of those knives. Whoever said that.
It's the best can opener in the world.
Is it?
You can hold a big can in the air and hold on to it.
Wow.
Very comfortable to use. We don't take it to work.
You ever taste this by itself like that? Unbelievable.
So you don't have to actually scoop it out of the can and put it in like this, and it does make a little bit of a sticky mess. Jeff, if you've ever watched any of his other videos, you'll see like a drill bit he uses with an actual drill. That's a good method. You could also scoop it into a bowl. Don't microwave the can, but you can microwave it in the bowl and just stir it in increments and get a little bit more on the thinner side so it can pour into the machine a lot easier.
That's another thing. Why haven't they perfected the fact that you can put a can in a microwave oven? Come on, this is the 2000s.
Because it's microwaves. That's why.
I don't know, we used to say when we were, they can put a man on the moon, but they can't put a tin can in a microwave oven. All right. Ooh.
I feel like Vanna White.
Jeff, you get to clean the machine after this one.
We have to make a batch of ice cream in this at the end.
Gee.
And do I care? Okay, that's all that stuff in there. Waste not, want not.
Boys are messy.
Yes. Men are messy too. Okay. Now that's it. Now, what I always do before I turn on the refrigeration is, what do you think? Anybody?
I didn't hear the part taste it.
I taste it. Ooh, nice spoons this time. Pulled out all the stops, huh?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, now we're ready. So we'll put the refrigeration on and you'll hear the compressor kick in. And then you know you're good. Now at this point, as soon as you put that compressor on, you don't leave the room when you're making ice cream. You don't go call your friend in the other room. You don't go check the mail. You don't do anything outside of the room. You stay here. Because if you don't, something will screw up. And you want to watch it when it screws up, so stay in the room. Is this working? I'm not kidding.
You're working.
Okay, any questions about this flavor? Now, I did change the name of this flavor because English toffee didn't work so well. I knew we had a great flavor, but the name didn't really click with the customers. English toffee didn't work. So I had to come up with another name for it. And I did, and it became ridiculously popular. So much so that we couldn't stop making it. We had to always have it. What I did was I added Heath bar pieces to it. I threw them in there, and I called it Caramel Crunch. And as soon as I put it on the board, Caramel Crunch, big seller. And still today, it's a top 5 seller. Top 5 seller. And all I did was add Heath bar pieces. Just throw them in the machine. Piece of cake. You want to know how much Heath bar pieces, right?
Yes, I was about to ask. I was gonna ask. How many put-
I'll tell you how many Heath bar pieces. In a full batch, in the 24 quart, 3 pounds.
And that's
Now-
like those little heat bits there, or?
Well, they come in bags already broken up.
Like that? Oh, yeah.
Like what?
Like the men.
Oh, absolutely. Can I have this?
No, we're running it. as a
Oh,
flavor.
you have any more?
No.
3 pounds?
3 pounds in a full batch, so a half patch is 1.5, you get the point.
Now, from a practical standpoint, when you're making ice cream, we're going to do all sorts of different flavors, so we're jumping around. But normally, if Jeff was going to make ice cream for the next 4 or 5 hours, or Christy was, you would plan your production starting with light flavors and working down so that you don't have to clean out the machine. We're going to have to do, normally, if we want to go on to a strawberry or a Bordeaux cherry, we'd have to do a full clean out. So you would start with vanilla as your base flavor, and then you would do something called variegated ice creams. You want to praise Jesus?
I'm going to disagree when you're done.
Okay, you can relax for 5 minutes.
Okay.
You would then go on to your what we call variegated flavors. Variegated is just a fancy name for adding a butterscotch swirl to an ice cream. So the machine would be vanilla, and then we're pouring in, we open the gate part way, and we're pouring in butterscotch into the vanilla ice cream. We could also make another batch of vanilla and pour in chocolate. We could do peanut butter that we're adding in, because the machine itself is vanilla ice cream, and everything else at that point is added outside. Then we would go on to our fruit flavors. You could do strawberry, which is going to be, of course, a pale pink, because the machine was just vanilla. Now we're putting real strawberries in the machine. Nobody else can do that. And we're going to run strawberry ice cream, and then something that's similar to strawberry would be a red raspberry. It's a little darker, so any little bit that's left in the machine of the strawberry will then be covered over by the red raspberry. So Then we could do Bordeaux cherry after that, which is even darker. So we have made, say, and you're not going to make just one batch of this. It's not practical. You're here to build an inventory over the next, say, 3 or 4 hours. So we might do 3 or 4 batches of this. So we're going to make 3, 4, 5 batches of vanilla, one of the largest selling ice creams in most ice cream parlors. And then we're going to do our butterscotch swirls. Then we're going to do the fruit flavors working down. So we could go 3, 4 hours and never have to rinse the machine. So that's the way you really make ice cream. We're not doing it that way today, but in the real world, you look at the flavors you have to do and you work your way down. Yes?
How long does it take to rinse and clean the machine?
It depends on what you're doing to rinse the machine. If I'm just going from, say, strawberry to, I don't know, back to vanilla, I'd probably do 2 rinses. So I'd pour some water into the machine. The amount is not critical. I'd pour some water in, turn on the dasher, no refrigeration. Let it slosh around for 30 seconds, shut it off, drain it out, do it a second time. If I was doing a nut ice cream, if you said, okay, you just made maple walnut ice cream, I don't want to risk a nut getting into any other flavor because I'm worried about contamination and a great increase in people with nut allergies. So I would most likely do 2 or 3 rinses, and then to play safe on a nut, which I would do at the end of the day, I would probably open it up and check the barrel and then re-sanitize. So the easiest way to avoid all that is make your nut ice creams at the very end of the day, the last stuff that you're going to do, and make them together because you don't want to worry about nut allergies. But otherwise, we call it homemade ice cream. So if a mint chip gets into the butter pecan, no one's going to really complain. They're going to say, oh, it's homemade ice cream. You know, that's what happens. Yes?
I was going to ask you about this. Do you get any flavoring choosing when you go from mint flavor to yours?
I'm sorry, do you get, yeah, we call it overlap. And yes, you'll get a little bit, but you're only leaving less than a pint to a half pint in the machine. It's that efficient. So again, if I get a little strawberry into the red raspberry, no one's going to ever notice. If I get strawberry into, say, a chocolate, you know, you just say, well, it still goes together, but you try not to do it. The exception, because I'm from the Bronx, is rum raisin. And it's because I'm from the Bronx. I would take that machine apart, I would get in there, I'd bring in the Pope and re-bless it, because if I get so much as a raisin in any other flavor, I'm from the Bronx. We know it's a cockroach. We just know it. You know, it's happened. You know, so we don't want that to happen. So something, you don't want to give an ice cream that goes squish that shouldn't go squish. You know, when you're eating rum raisin, you expect something to go squish. But it's very fast and simple. But the idea is you don't go from chocolate to vanilla because you're going to have to do more rinsing. Go vanilla to chocolate. Now you can tell what's wrong.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, to touch on that of ice cream being left in the machine and stuff on that, that also depends on how thick or thin you pull your product. So some pull it thicker than others, some pull it thinner. I prefer to pull mine a little on the thinner side versus some other people I know and colleagues like to pull it thicker. 2 reasons. One, when you pull it a little bit thinner, you have a more chance of getting the cylinder clean and it's not going to get so cold and stiff and start sticking to the blades and the springs. And also in your container, it'll fill up your container a lot more evenly versus super thick and you're standing there and you're trying to pack your ice cream down.
And does thicker or thinner make any difference to the consistency?
I'm not saying pull it as soup, but you'll see Jeff pulls it about the same consistency I do. For the classes, we try to pull it a little bit more firmer just so we're going to put it in a cup. Yes.
If it's getting thick and you turn the compressor off and just let it.
So
Yeah, watch. You'll see. We're going to do all that now.
Okay.
Watch, it started, I can hear it changing.
So we do what we call a cutoff check, which is what you're seeing Jeff do. He's opening and closing it to cut off the ice cream. If it cuts and it comes out kind of clean like so, that's not, it's kind of running a little bit. I would let it go for probably another minute. That's Jeff's preference though, it's his ice cream. But that's what you can tell and judge. If it's cut it off and it's just pouring out, don't even attempt it.
Whether you're pulling ice cream at make up
pretty
numbers,
good.
22 degrees or 20 degrees or 19, isn't going to make any difference in the consistency whatsoever. If anybody tells you different, it's not true, because it's ice cream when we pull it out, and then it's going into a specialty freezer to turn it rock hard. So,
Not only that too, but
Okay,
the
just one
temperatures.
second. Listen to the compressor going off, because that's what you want to hear. We're going to shut it off now. Now it's still spinning and it's still cold in there, but it's not progressing the thickness of the ice cream.
if you left it on, you're going to have trouble getting the ice cream out, and you could ultimately just shut it down. These blends from the dairy, which is milk, cream, sugar, skim milk, that's what makes up ice cream. We call it a terrible term. We call it mix, M-I-X. We ought to call it a blend, because that's all it is it's whole milk, heavy cream, cane sugar, and skim milk powder. You go, what's the skim milk for? Well, skim milk is a great product. It's heavy cream with all the fat removed. So we call it, too technical, milk solids, not fat. But basically, skim milk, if you needed to get protein into your body, skim milk's a great way to do it, because it's got all the protein and all the good stuff, but without all the heavy fat of heavy cream. So we're actually improving the ice cream by putting in skim milk powder. And we don't put it in. The dairy does it. The cow is milked this afternoon at 4 o'clock. It goes to the dairy, and then it's separated and then repasteurized and blended and delivered to you fresh the next morning, ready to go. It's great stuff.